the Northeast focused on preventing the resurgence of the Daesh terrorist group and supporting local partner forces.
Welcome back once again. We still have with us live here in the studio Dr. Hatem Gohary, Professor of Israeli Studies at Cairo University. Of course, I was asking Hatem, I'm really impressed by the way you unfolded your information. You were about to answer this question about are we going to take ages and ages and yield to what's happening until we attain that civilization, unify ourselves, like how many, like 100 years, 50? Is there a quick response amongst the Arab regions to unify themselves, pull themselves to, especially that they learned the lesson?
We must take the first step. The first step is how to deal with the exploding contradictions which America and Israel have used to infiltrate our own identity tank, identity repository. You know identity tank? Are you with me? Okay.
No, if you could explain.
Identity portrait, identity mosaic.
Is it a new philosophy by the Zionists?
It's not a new one, it's an old one and a new one. They use contradictions between ethnic groups. Like now they are using Kurds in North Iraq to attack Iran.
Oh yes, okay.
This is what I mean by contradictions in
like
the
what
identity.
they did in Syria and what they did in Iraq and the moderate opposition and all this.
We must learn how to administrate the contradictions, how to move with a minimum level and a maximum level. And the Arabs and the Muslims must get together. Let's speak about Netanyahu's last proposal or last statement about the new ally of the Hindu Abrahamic ally, which contains India and Greece and Cyprus, I mean, and others. Netanyahu is speaking about an ally to stand against the Sunni ally and the Shia ally. So our enemy, our rival, is speaking about his other side. I think we need to learn how to be in one ground, and in the same time we can see who is going to be the first to do the things in a good way. I mean as example Turkey and Egypt and Saudi Arabia. The three in a quest for which country is the good one to lead the Islamic narrative.
The answer is very well known. It's Egypt. But at the same time,
excuse me. I think in this particular moment we need to speak about a common ground.
Exactly, that's what I was coming at. And that's why this all could be translated into what President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi have called for, a unified military stance, Arab military stance, and if probably non-Arab that maybe would take Turkey in between also, to be able to stand up to the dangers. Do you think that now what you're saying, in other words, we don't have a choice, we'll have to establish that? But is there a goodwill, a real sincere will for doing this?
A goodwill will come after a new cultural narrative. Before building...
So changing the narrative first.
Yes. Before building a unified army, you must first build a common ground.
And build faith. And build faith.
And build faith based on common ground, which is based also
civilization
of a civilization and a big narrative, new narrative.
A new narrative.
I think the new narrative, you can call it the third geocultural bloc. The third geocultural bloc. There is a Western bloc now, which is led by America, the clash of civilization, and there is an Eastern bloc, which consists of two parties: the New Eurasism from Russia with Alexander Dugin, and the Belt and Road Initiative from China. The Arab Islamic world can give the whole world a new approach of a third geocultural bloc, which really believes in multiculturalism, multi-civilizational world. This is our aim. This must be our quest. We cannot win hard wars. We cannot win hard battles without a soft power. A soft power must come and bring us together. Then after we come together, we will develop economic relations and military relations for a unified army. But you cannot go for a unified army before you build a strong relation at the level of the narrative.
Exactly. When we mention the soft power, it's the Egyptian administration. And we have been recognized ever since President Sisi stepped into office, and not really complimentary, but this is what happened in reality. And then we attained the chairmanship of the African Union, unified all the African countries under one umbrella with our economic and social and political initiatives that have been helping all our brothers and sisters in Africa, unifying and standing for Palestine in Gaza and for our brothers in Libya and all that. But going back to our point, then talking about the implications of this war, there are very, very urgent need to be able to stand up to those implications, because whether we are part of this world or no, we are bearing all the implications, even the people who are part of this war. The halt or the closing of the Strait of Hormuz and Bab el-Mandeb and the Israeli plan and all that, how could we stand?
You mean how the Egyptians or how the Arab world?
The Arab world, again talking about a unified stance.
We are at the end of a road. It was a long road. Donald Trump, in his first term, announced his deal of century and the Abraham Accords. Now we are in the era of two things: the Abrahamic Zionism and the new Middle East, which is been promoting by Donald Trump and Mr. Netanyahu. So the Arab world must take actions in how to get together and how to learn about the political, you can say, the foreign policy of political manipulation. Donald Trump and you can say the after-war World II regime, worldwide regime, global regime is collapsing. We are in a moment that the whole world after World War II regime is collapsing, and we must be up to the moment. How to be up to the moment? By suggesting a new way of life. If we stuck to the new details, to the small details about economics and energy and conflicts, we must level up to the point which we can
make a move on.
Make a move on about narratives and the political foreign policy.
Right. Let me just take this phone call, and of course we have with us over the phone Major General Osama Kabir, the strategic expert. Good morning, General Osama.
Good morning, sir.
If you could speak up, please raise up your voice.
You now hear me now?
Right. That's fine. A little bit much better, but if you could try to speak up while you're talking to us. Very delighted to have you here on Nile TV. But then, have you been following what Dr. Hatem Gohary, the professor of Israeli Studies at Cairo University, he said very important ideas that we have to form a unified stance according to what President Abdel Fattah Sisi have called for, and also recall our civilizations. I mean, I'm trying to sum up these things and use those tools to be able to stand up to the possible dangers of the future.
Right, definitely, yes. And actually the Egyptian leadership has been calling for that since a long time ago. Maybe since he was put on responsibility to lead this country. And as you can see, Dr. Hatem was talking about the changing for the new international community regime or form or system. How could it be under such a crazy what we're just witnessing here when it took almost now 6 days, but things are changing so rapidly and so astonishing momentum and moving on ground. So the cohesion and the unity and yes, it's the cohesion, it's the Arab unity once more again, and we need to take a new stand up against what's happening, or otherwise the consequences will be catastrophic to every single political unit within the Arab world. Yes.
In light of what Dr. Hatem is saying, is that this is a massive event or a very decisive moment for the whole world, and this could be very much true. At the same time, in short, he is pointing out to the fact that we should collect ourselves and not stop at the very intricate details, which is important also, but the situation is so hard so that we have to think bigger over the ground that we're standing on.
Right, think bigger and think quickly at the same time too, because if you look like 5 days back, it started only like 3 countries, United States, Israel against Iran. All right, that's fine, now we're watching that. But in just 1 day more, that we found that Iran now is targeting the GCC countries. 4 countries been targeted. So if you add to the 3, another make it provincial now. Now we have 7 countries we talk about. And the other 4 countries start to talk that they have all the right, and the international law would guarantee them to safeguard their rights and to go against Iran. And the day 3 now we found Iran is targeting some British posts in Cyprus. Now we have 6, 7 countries. Yesterday they targeted Turkey, and now 8 countries. So it's getting wider. The scale is getting wider and wider. Nobody would feel that. So we need to stop that quickly. Now it's provincial, no doubt. So maybe in a couple of weeks it will be like global war, another World War III or something. And that's why the Egyptian political leadership is calling for the wisdom and calling for the negotiations and open discussions and open talk. And or otherwise, all the political units within this catastrophic situation will be, very much harmed or very much hard and hard. Yes.
Right. Talking about the implications, you also from another side, you have touched on very important issue, which is the pace of time and the urgency of standing up to the possible expected dangers as the situation is escalating day after day. So the possible dangers are a complete halt of maritime navigation and of course the rise and the halt of the petroleum and gas and the change of power of balance. And there are very, very grave issues awaiting. So concerning those points, you have pointed to the urgency of thinking of a way out, not to Egypt, but to those countries involved and the whole region.
Yes, you're right. And before we speak about the consequences on the economic domain, first let's talk about the consequences of the security domain, because the people domain itself, I mean, when you start talking about, look what's happening, for instance, in Tehran, and in Isfahan, Tabriz, in too many cities around in Iran landscape. And at the same time now, if you can see what's happening in the GCC, for people we hear about, now the buildings been hit and some hotels. In Iran we have the schools and we have something like the sports complex. So at the first scale, we need to speak about the safety of the people within all the counterparts. And secondly, yes, we need to move quickly to the global maritime economy and what we call also sometimes the blue economy, because of, yes, the maritime movement within the Arab Gulf is almost now stopped, and we have that Hormuz Strait now, which is pretty much to be considered bio and very, very important strait because of something like 25% from the oil shipments of the world is passing through that strait. So I mean, yes, and when they pass through that all the way down to the Indian Ocean, all the way back to the Gulf Arabs, to the southern part of the Red Sea, all the way up to Suez Canal, and that would affect like too many countries. And at the first place comes Egypt, because as you understand that last fiscal year, speaking about the fiscal year of 24-25, Egypt had lost something about $7 billion because what been Ansar al-Houthi is conducting within the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. So, I mean, yes, we can understand. We see the scenarios if this war start going on this crazy momentum, and that's why we say again, the diplomatic,
Right.
yes,
Right.
again, it's the only way that you can get through that, because
Sure.
all the area will be like, yes,
Sure.
totally harmed.
At this note, Major General Osama Kabir, strategic expert, would like to thank you so much. And now it's the military balance between Iran and United States in the Gulf represents one of the most significant strategic rivalries or confrontation in contemporary international politics. And at the center of this confrontation is Iran expanding missile and drone capabilities. Of course, more details in the following report.
The outcome and duration of the war in the Middle East may be decided by a grim calculus based on the size of Iran's drone and missile stocks versus vital air defense munitions held by the US, Israel and Gulf states. Since Saturday, Iran and its proxies have sought to counter the intensive joint US and Israeli offensive, with more than 1,000 strikes against targets across almost a dozen countries spread over 1,200 miles. With its antiquated air force unable to compete with those of Israel and the US, Tehran has relied on its arsenal of missiles and drones. The geographical extent of Iran's retaliatory attacks have made the conflict the widest in the Middle East since the Second World War. Israeli and US aircraft and missiles have struck hundreds of sites across Iran without losing a plane to hostile fire. The US and Israel are seeking to destroy as much as Iran's missile stockpile and infrastructure as possibly targeting launchers, stores and personnel. The director of the defense program at the center of a new American security in Washington said the conflict had become a bit of a salvo competition, a military strategic concept describing an exchange of simultaneous volleys of large numbers of precision-guided weapons between opposing forces. Siren sounds again over Jerusalem on Tuesday, with multiple explosions as interceptor missiles destroyed incoming missiles, but Iranian attacks on Israel, where 11 people have been killed and more than 100 injured since the war began, have become less frequent over the past 36 hours. Analysts suggest that Iran, where the Red Crescent said more than 787 people have been killed, may be seeking to preserve its reverses of missiles or is simply unable to fire more. Tehran's strategy may be the attempt to wear down its enemies by undermining the morale of citizens and raising the financial costs of the conflict. During the 12-day war with Iran last summer, when massive barrages of missiles were fired at Israel, crucial weapons in Israel ran low, some reports have suggested, and all the involved in the current conflict recognize the significance of the bitterly contested aerial battle and are making strenuous efforts to reassure anxious citizens. The United Arab Emirates issued a lengthy statement on Tuesday rebuting reports that it was running out of crucial interceptor missiles. Iranian strikes have also been launched at US military and civilian infrastructure sites in Qatar, Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, Iraq, Bahrain and Oman. International hotels in Dubai have been hit and set alight.
Welcome back, and we only have like almost 1 minute, Dr. Hatem, so if you would like to give us your valuable input and your final thoughts, because you have enlightened us with very rich information.
Thank you. I think we are facing the hard face of what's so-called the deal of century and the Abraham Accords. In the first term of Donald Trump, he was promoting a soft version of the deal of century. But now we are watching the hard face of this deal of century, this Abraham Accords, and what's so-called the Abrahamic Zionism. And we must be up to the moment to develop a new narrative to be in the world that we dream about.
I would like to thank you, extend my thanks to you very much, Dr. Hatem Gohary. You are a professor of Israeli Studies at Cairo University, and we really hope that too many people are like you to be able to understand the other end's culture, to be able to stand up to the possible
Yes,
dangers.
yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And by this, we come to the end for temporarily with our coverages, but our coverages are continuing on Nile TV for 24 hours, and on the top of every hour, there is going to be full coverage, so stay with us.